So let's look at one of the other FSWidgets apps for the iPad. We're going to look at the iGMapHD, which is the moving map product. At first sight this looks very similar to the Quick Plan flight planner, and essentially we've got the same workspace. We've got the map. The map looks very familiar. If we look at the base maps, we have all the same options. We're currently displaying the VFR Aero Worldwide map. The sim is running at the moment. If I just press the connect icon, you see those maps are loaded as before from the cloud live as we go. And we've just taken off from Kibrit Airport near Suez, and I'm flying a part of the flight plan on my round the world trip. We can load the flight plan, and this again is very similar to what we saw at the flight planner. I have this hooked up to my Dropbox, and I've synchronized all the plans that I've got available there, copied them from the flight planner. The plan that I want here is HE34 to VABB. That's the second one from the bottom. If I just click that, loads the flight plan, and so if I just zoom out, you can see that flight plan takes us down across Saudi Arabia and the Persian Gulf and eventually to Mumbai. So that's a flight plan we saw being constructed earlier. There's very little to show of this. Having looked at the flight planner, what I'm going to show you here very quickly is just essentially the same. We've got the same options for the maps. So that's the relief terrain map, the terrain hybrid map. That just looks the same. Shaded terrain hybrid. Yeah, so that's got labels on as well, and I think it shows roads. It says it shows roads, but we've probably zoomed too far out to see roads at the moment. Yeah, so there's the roads. Now the one difference is, although we have all these base maps available in the flight planner, what we don't have, you'll recall, is the charts. The charts are commercial products that you have to buy separately, the aviation charts I'm talking about. The difference is in this product we have all these aviation charts included for free. So we can't use them for flight planning, but we can dial them in to follow on the moving map. So the one I'm going to choose is the Europe. In fact, this is probably not going to be any help. In fact, having realised that I can't show you the charts on using this flight plan, I'm going to load a separate flight plan. I'm going to load the Antalya to Kibrit and set connection. Okay, so I've set FSX off flying on that flight plan, and so we're just leaving Turkey. So back to where I was. We're currently showing the hybrid terrain and road base map, but if I go to the charts, I can select one of the European charts. Let's select the TPC, Tactical Pilot Charts. So you can see we get aviation information on this chart, which is much more helpful. Now obviously this would be extremely helpful to have all this information available at the flight planning stage, but it's a bonus that we have this in the moving map. And there's a fairly, well, I won't say comprehensive set of charts because it's anything but comprehensive, but a fairly extensive collection of charts. So just to show you an example, one of the other European charts is this ONC chart. So it's a different kind of chart, different information available, but you'll notice also that chart appears to end just to the right of the screen here. If I turn off the tracking for the moment and zoom out, you can see the limits of that chart, and actually that reveals that the coverage of the charts doesn't extend well beyond Europe, Canada, Australia, New Zealand and North America essentially. So on this round the world trip, when we're flying down across the Persian Gulf and then on to India and towards China and so on, we're not going to have the option of Aviation Charts, all we've got is the base maps, but that's not a great handicap. If I just turn that chart off for now, what else do we have? Let's turn tracking back on. So again, we've got the zoom, we can zoom in and out. It keeps the map centered on current position of the aircraft. We have the option of displaying the compass rose. This is helpful, incidentally. I should have mentioned this when I was talking about the flight planner. When we have the nav data product, don't forget, you'll need to pay for this separately if you want this, but when we turn on VORs in particular, I guess there aren't many VORs in this area, there's a couple. Let me just temporarily turn off the aircraft tracking. We don't get a compass rose around the VORs, which is kind of inconvenient, but we do have this compass rose built into the flight planner. So if I select the VOR that I want, and if I move it so that that's pretty much to the centre of the screen, then we've sort of got the compass rose, and we can judge our headings. You know, this is for thinking about what radial we want to fly in or out on. What else do we have? We've got this, you know, kind of head-up display, which has got heading, altitude, ground speed. We've got the ability to show weather information. That's world cloud data. There obviously isn't any cloud around at the minute. Or rain. Pressure. Let's try pressure. Well, so that's apparently showing, yeah, so that's pressure data. That's kind of interesting. So we've got isobars, we've got colour-coded shading for the weather. So that's kind of handy. What else can we show? Wind. So all we get there is the shading. Arguably that is no use at all. I can't really see what use that's going to be. If it doesn't tell me the wind direction, you know, it's showing me relative wind strength. So if I was flying to the west of Ireland at the moment, you know, there's moderately strong winds going on, according to this, but it doesn't tell me which direction they're going in. you might be able to infer that from the cyclonic or anticyclonic nature of the pattern, but that doesn't seem right to me. So what else have we got for weather? Well, we've got weather stations that we can dial in. That's the one at Antalya, to give us local actual conditions. That's coded, you know, we don't get a decoded version of that, and we can show the forecast. So that's kind of handy, although one thing I've noticed is, just like with the nav data, so that's the airports, the VORs, the intersections, we're only seeing weather stations towards the centre of the screen. So weather stations over here in, let's say, Syria, for example, are not visible until I move Syria to be close to the centre of the screen, and then those stations appear. So again, just like I was saying, the flight planner, that's kind of inconvenient, and it you know, it means that you can't look ahead along the route and choose a weather station. In fact, while the aircraft tracking is on, that's a genuine, let's turn off. So if I clear all the nav data, put on weather stations, while that tracking is turned on, it's not going to be possible to see the weather stations for Cyprus, because if I move Cyprus to the middle of the screen, although those stations pop up momentarily, the moving map then recenters the screen, and so they disappear again. So I have to turn off tracking, move Cyprus to the centre of the screen, select the weather station, look at the forecast, and actually, will that stay there if I turn tracking back on? No, the forecast disappears. That's a rough edge, but the weather information kind of is there if we want it. US NextRad weather data. Well, presumably that means that if we were over the US, okay. So that's a US only feature, but it looks kind of helpful. Well, interestingly enough, that base map over the United States shows different information. We're seeing airspace, including the Class D airspace, although we can't see the airports. So that's a little bit of a mixed bag. But if I turn on that US NextRad weather data, that looks like we're seeing precipitation. I would guess that is. So that's a handy feature if you fly in the United States. If I just go back to UK and turn on cloud data, we should see cloud of the UK. So that's somewhat helpful. So that's the weather. Back to the moving map. Another thing we've got here is we've got a nearest airport function. If I click that, let's say I'd had an emergency or something, I could choose an airport. What it's done there is it's abandoned the flight plan and it's created a simple flight plan direct to the nearest airport. It's debatable whether that's any use really. I mean, we've got that function on the GPS anyway, but it's there. So we've just flipped away from this app and come back again, and we're having a problem connecting. This is just one of many glitches with this app. You see, it's unresponsive now. I can't do anything. The only thing I can do is kill it and restart it. Okay, so it's back. Give me the flight plan. Here's an interesting thing that I've noticed. I'm just zooming in. This is the virtual cockpit. This is the GNS 530 in the Twin Otter Extended Virtual Cockpit. You can see we're navigating according to that flight plan. I'll just show you, that's the flight plan we've got at the moment. So we went Luton to London City to Strasbourg, Strasbourg to EDMO, which is one of the Munich airports. And you can see we're on the magenta line, so we're following the flight plan. Now this flight plan was generated in Quick Plan from FSWidgets, and if I flip over to our FSWidgets moving map display, which is running iGMapHD, I think it's called, that's the flight plan from which the FSX flight plan was generated. In fact, you just save it to Dropbox and upload it to FSX, but the aircraft is not on the magenta line, so I'm not sure what to make of that. So we'll file that away as strange and very nearly interesting for later. It's not obvious, but these legs of this flight plan are basically just straight lines. Now if you do this on a flight planner such as SkyVector, or even on the GPS or the flight planner in FSX, the legs are actually plotted as great circles. That's the shortest distance between the 2 points, and as I said when we looked at Quick Plan doesn't do that, and I'm sure Quick Plan just stores, as do most flight planners, it stores the plan as the individual waypoints, and it's the application that renders the track that that really should be drawing the great circles, and so this renders the tracks as straight lines, which is incorrect. And as I probably said when we looked at Quick Plan, that means that you can't look along this track and accurately predict. I mean, we're over ocean here, so it doesn't really matter, but over land, you might think that track will precisely show the expected track over the ground, which it won't. And that's to me, that's a glaring omission. I mean, that's practically an error, because it's not showing me what track that GPS is going to fly. So other glitches, well, we do get some anomalies using this moving map to track our flights. We'll just briefly see a couple of those in this clip. I'm not sure what's going on there. Apart from the track error, we've got some grotesque distortion of the chart. Let's see if zooming that out makes a difference. Well, we lost the chart completely there. Oh, now outside of map coverage. This is something that happens on this moving map display quite a lot. If you play around pinch zooming the map in and out, you get this out of map coverage area. The only way to solve it that I've discovered is to reload the map. This happens on both the moving map and on the planner. And of course, if you reload, you lose the flight plan as well. So we got that back. See if we can get the chart back. No, that's still broken. So God knows what's going on there. That looks like the data's completely screwed up or something. I suspect that's the intersection of two different scanned charts or something like that. So when we get over that join, we'll see how that looks. And finally, we'll just have a quick look at iGMap, which is the iPhone equivalent of iGMapHD. This is a separate application, so it's a separate purchase. You can't run iGMapHD on the iPhone, but the functionality is pretty much the same, only smaller. Doesn't know where we are at the minute. If we press the connect icon, it's connected. So well, I'm presuming that's the right place. Let's try and change the base map to be... So we've got all the same base maps as we have on the Big Brother. If we go for the VFR Aero map, you can see that's somewhat reminiscent of what we've seen already. So we've got a moving map on the phone. It's not quite as useful. It's kind of useful. It's just a bit small. See if we can get one of the charts. Oh, actually, we don't seem to have an icon for the extra charts. Oh no, they're here. They're in the same menu. So if we go for the... That's interesting. See if this is screwed up on the phone as well. Europe TPC. Yeah, you see, we've got the same weird distortion there as we have on the larger map. We're obviously flying off the edge of some intersection of two charts. See if we can get the flight plan on there as well. Save copy. iGMap, flight plans. Well, it's in there. It's in there, so we should be able to go to iGMap, flight plans, sync. There it is, okay. So we now just select that, and we have it.